Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, Mobile Breakthroughs that are changing how your customers shop. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today, and today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our amazing SEO, the absolute best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the brand new Chameleon responsive website platform. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that Dealer On is still the only company in the industry that offers a money-back lead guarantee program. So does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads or your money back? Well, maybe you should check us out at our gorgeous brand new Dealer On website at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Ben Anderson as our presenter today. Ben Anderson is the President and CEO of AutoMotion, the leader in mobile app technology for the automotive retail market. The AutoMotion platform creates mobile marketing solutions for automotive OEMs and large dealer networks. Ben is responsible for innovation and growth strategy in emerging mobile markets and leads a team focused on helping manufacturers and dealers reach mobile customers. Ben has founded several successful startups in technology and has received multiple awards for his innovative work, including the 2011 Minnesota Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award from the U.S. Small Business Administration. He was also a finalist in the 2006 Global Student Entrepreneur Awards and received the 2005 Student Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Ben Anderson speaks nationally on mobile and emerging technology, is a regular columnist for various automotive publications, and you can connect with Ben, care of Sammy Roatman, at SamanthaR@automotionweb.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to try and respond to you by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at AutoMotion, they're giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. That's right, one of you lucky webinar attendees is going to win a new Apple TV with 1080p HD. This device gives you access to your best content, blockbuster movies, TV shows, sports, your music, your photos, and much more right on your widescreen TV. You can even play content right from your iOS device onto your TV using AirPlay. This prize is valued at $99, and only one of you lucky webinar attendees is going to get it. But who could that be? You have to be on the live broadcast to find out and win it. All you have to do is stay tuned for the details after Ben's presentation, and you could be the one scoring this awesome prize today. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So please fill it out. We're always looking for quality feedback from your audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. And hey, do you tweet much? You know what? We hope you do. We'd love to see what you had to say about today's presentation. So if you do, please, we want to know. Check us out in there. We have at Dealer On, at Eliana Raggio, because I'd love to see what you have to say. And you can also use hashtag DealerOnWebby, and to make Ben visible as well, put at AutoMotion TV. All right? Hopefully, we'll see what you have on, to say on your tweets. Now, let's get started. Let's learn mobile breakthroughs that are changing how your customers shop. Ben, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Eliana. Thanks for having me on again.
Are you kidding? It's always a pleasure when I have the Ben Anderson on the show. So thank you so much for being here today. And I love when you come on because you talk to us about the very newest, hottest, cutting-edge mobile stuff that's going on. And mobile is something I feel like a lot of us just wait for it to happen to the rest of us, and then we start getting involved. But you really put us on that leading edge, and I really appreciate that. And today is no different, right? You're going to be talking to us about a lot of things that are happening in the mobile industry. So thank you for that. What are the kinds of things we're going to be learning about today?
Well, I'm glad you asked. And yes, mobile is not only emerging, but today it is the dominant high-growth sector, and it's something that we have to pay attention to as a dealership going forward. So on that cue, let's take a look at the objectives for today. So we want to talk about mobile and the automotive shopper. We want to talk about the showrooming customer, a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about mobile SEO, app leads, location targeting, and a whole bunch more, and then get to some question and answers later on. The goal for me, Eliana, is for us to get through the content as quickly as possible. It'd be great if at the end we could create a sort of a two-way dialogue, talk about mobile, talk about what dealers are seeing in the space, and see if there's any insight or help I can provide in that realm. So with that, let's get started.
Yeah.
First off, smartphones. They're everywhere. Some latest data here. Over 174 million Americans now own a smartphone. Not only are they everywhere, they're used all of the time. Some additional data, almost 90% of U.S. millennial smartphone users admit to having their phones by their side 24/7. I know I'm guilty of it. How about you, Eliana?
I'm so guilty of it. It's right next to me right now, even though I'm not looking at it.
And how about this? This is from Google Think Insights. This is a pretty well-known stat, but let's focus our attention on the very left side in blue. The average number of times a person checks their smartphone per day is over 150. Hard to believe, but on a device that we carry with us and reference all the way from morning to evening, you can see how that number can get quite large very, very quickly. Next, let's take a look at some ComScore data, and I simply want to highlight this intersection that happened last year. And this is charting digital media time spent by platform. For the first time in history, mobile, from a time usage perspective, eclipsed desktop. And we can see that trend continues to further deviate as we move through time. Next, smartphones, guess what? They're used in the shopping process. This is some data from Placed Incorporated. Automotive shoppers, 8 out of 10 of them use a mobile device to do research. And take a look at this data. 25% of people, same study, 25% of people used only their smartphone to conduct research prior to visiting a dealership. That means 25% didn't use a laptop or a desktop in their research before visiting a dealership. So not only is mobile a new, emerging, interesting trend, it's absolutely something that's here to stay. Next, let's talk about the showrooming customer. What is the showrooming customer? Well, let's define it. Showrooming, a showrooming customer uses their smartphone to check pricing and offers while on a dealer showroom floor. Showrooming is unique to the mobile shopper, and no doubt we have seen this, especially in the last year, happening more and more and more in the showroom as well as in the lot. We, at the dealership, are spending thousands of dollars to get that customer to set foot on our lot or in our showroom, and at the moment of decision, that customer, instead of engaging with the dealership personnel, has their nose buried in that smartphone. Some additional data here.
And we actually, the last time you were here with us, you talked about showroom. We did a whole webinar on how to stop showrooming. If you guys want to check that out, I highly recommend it. It was a fascinating webinar. And you go to dealeron.com/webinar and click on the link on the right-hand side where our archives are for on-demand webinars, and look for the last Ben Anderson webinar on showrooming. It was great. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thanks for the shout-out, Eliana. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Anytime, Ben.
On that showroom statistic, 63% here we can see in this study from Placed of shoppers report using their mobile device at the dealership. So we know they're on our lot, they're in our showroom, they're buried in their smartphone, but that begs the question, what are they doing? And the answer is, as far as mobile shoppers are concerned, they're shopping your competition. More than half of shoppers who use their smartphone for research on a dealer lot visited additional dealerships as a result of the information found on their device. And this is just a fact. Mobile shoppers are much more likely to cross-shop you with competition than a standard traditional shopper. In fact, cross-shopping is now the norm when it comes to mobile shoppers. 72% of search sessions involve cross-shopping. Furthermore, today's mobile shopper, guess what? They trust their smartphone and their smartphone screen. More data, 58% of mobile shoppers prefer to look up information on their smartphone rather than talk to a store employee. So we have a trust issue here. So if we sum it all up from what we looked at early on here in the webinar, we have mass smartphone adoption. We have heavy, heavy daily usage of smartphones. We have that showrooming customer. And then we have those individuals, specifically mobile shoppers, who trust the smartphone home screen of their device more than they trust dealership personnel. Okay, so what do we do about it? And the answer is we need to engage the mobile shopper on their device. And really in two main ways this can happen. The first is through a mobile optimized website, and the second is through a mobile app. Now, Eliana, knowing it's your audience, and you have a very savvy audience, I'm going to guess that the audience is very familiar and understands the importance of having a mobile optimized website. So today, I'm going to focus exclusively on mobile apps. And specifically, I want to cover why your dealer now today must have an app. 5 key points. First is mobile SEO in relation to apps. Second is downloads as a currency related to leads. Third is home screen advantage of mobile apps. Fourth, we'll talk about retention. And then fifth, we'll talk about location targeting. But before we get into this, Eliana, let's ask the audience our first poll question.
Have you not heard a thing I said in the last, 2 minutes?
Eliana, I did not hear a thing.
Not a thing. Okay, audience, thank you so much for writing in and letting me know that you can hear a darn thing I was saying. Well, I was talking this whole time. But you know what, you guys did, thank you so much. You guys did so good answering this question. Almost all of you voted, and so I appreciate you so much right now. I'll tell you what, I don't even have to read the question to you because you did it on your own. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's close this poll and share the results with you. All right, here we go. Well, an overwhelming majority, Ben, said 70%. 70% know that it's extremely important, and they know the value of mobile shoppers and how ready they are to buy or service their cars. Now, that being said, 26% of today's audience think that it's somewhat important. They see that there's a growing attention towards mobile shoppers, and the remaining 4% said they still don't know if it's really that important, and that currently they don't put any resources or energy into mobile SEO. Ben?
Sounds great. Very savvy audience. I really appreciate those honesty as well that say, hey, this is just not a priority for us today. So that's part of my goal, is to convince you otherwise. So let's move on, and let's move to this first one, which has to do with mobile SEO and apps. As of April 2015, and I really encourage you on this particular point to grab a Google browser either after the webinar, probably preferably, and do some research on this, because this is cutting-edge, brand-new stuff. In April 2015, Google has radically changed the way in which they rank companies based on their mobile presence. We take a look here. Your mobile traffic may vary depending upon your dealership. It could be 40% to 70% of your total traffic. The calculation is your mobile website plus your mobile app equals big SEO potential on mobile. The fact is now, as of April, your apps are now being crawled by Google just like your website. App indexing lets Google index apps just like websites. Deep links to your app appear in Google search results, giving you an opportunity to be front and center. Secondly, having an app signals to Google that you are now mobile friendly. Google is now using apps as an indicator of your mobile friendliness, more so than just a mobile website. It is a positive ranking factor for Google. And then finally, apps are appearing in organic searches on mobile devices. So the takeaway from all this, and again, I'd ask that you do some research on your own, is that apps are now a key part of your Google SEO ranking on mobile devices. Okay, next, downloads. Downloads are the currency of mobile apps. And I'd like you to wrap your head around them as low-funnel leads. First off, mobile shoppers are much less likely to submit traditional leads. We can see this when we talk about traditional leads in the form capture sense on websites. We can see this stat dropping dramatically for those who are on mobile devices. Secondly, an app install is direct access to that customer's phone, their most personal of devices. And direct access means we can communicate with them through push notifications, through location targeting, and other routes that we'll get into a little bit later here to provide us direct communication access to that customer. And then an app install equals a low funnel lead. When we have an app installed or a customer has an app installed from your dealership, we know that they're later in the sales process. Typically, that customer will have just a single app download from your dealership, or they might be considering one or two other dealerships at that stage, a low funnel lead. And then I wanted to share some data from AutoMotion. Over at AutoMotion here, we're the market leader in mobile apps for dealers. We have over 4 million automotive shopper sessions. And just to give you an idea, performance-wise, what you should expect from your mobile app. And I have a range here between 100 to 250 installs per month. Now, there are some outliers, some that produce less and others that produce more. And again, it's going to depend upon the size of your dealership, geographic location, and some other factors. But this is the number of installs, and you can think of them as app leads that you should be expecting out of performance for your dealership mobile app. So the takeaway here is apps provide leads that other mediums just cannot. Next, we have the home screen advantage. I put up a couple of different well-known brand names here. Zappos, the shoe company. We see eBay, Delta, Hertz, etc. And one thing remains common among all these. If you as a consumer do a Google search on your iPhone or mobile device, and you attempt to visit, for example, Zappos, the shoe company, or the New York Times for current events, the first thing you get is a very strong prompt to download a mobile app. Now, this is a huge risk to major brands like these of getting you to bounce away. Because after all, they've paid thousands of dollars through advertising and other mediums to bring you to their .com. And when they serve you up an app install notice, that is not what you came for. And so there is a risk that you bounce away or navigate away, maybe even to a competitor. But despite this, they still strongly push an app download. And there's a reason for this. These companies know that if they can get an app install on your device, that app lives on the home screen until you move it or until you delete it. And unlike a mobile website, the app is a strong branding opportunity for that customer, again, who looks at that smartphone device over 150 times per day. And Zappos, the shoe company, Hertz, or New York Times for current events knows that the next time you're thinking about shoes, or the next time you're thinking about current events, the chances of you opening up that app on your home screen versus doing a Google search by opening a mobile browser increases exponentially. And so in that way, they are able to lock out the competition. So an app install early in the process has the ability to lock out the competition. From our market, as dealers, think about Susie the shopper as an example. Susie the shopper is looking for a Toyota Camry, and let's say she lives in good old Minneapolis, Minnesota. So she's on the go. She has her iPhone handy. The first thing she's going to do is open up the mobile browser, go to Google, put in the search terms Toyota Camry Minneapolis. And the results of that will be various dealer websites where she can click on, navigate through, get to inventory, shop around maybe for 20, 30, 40 seconds, and then pop out. Now, 3 days later, when Susie the shopper goes back and sees an ad for Toyota or something in her life prompts her to, again, look at inventory, is she going to pull out her iPhone, look back through her browser history to see which dealership she Googled 3 days earlier? No, absolutely not. Instead, she's going to start the process all over. She's going to Google those same search terms. And so now we as a dealership who had a customer early in the sales cycle, no longer. We are now paying Google again for paid search listings. We're also now in competition with our competitors in the local area. If you compare that to an app download, if we can get that early in the sales process, we have the opportunity to lock out the competition. So the takeaway is, with home screen advantage of apps being on the home screen, apps become more top of mind. And as a result of that, apps have a higher retention rate than mobile websites. Take a look at some of this data from ComScore. This is time spent on mobile apps versus browsers. And in white, we have the time spent for apps. In blue, we have browsers. Similar data, this is from Nielsen as well as Flurry. Blue represents the amount of time spent within apps, and in gray is the number via the mobile web. And it's proven that apps, what we call a mobile retention rate, have a higher comeback period than the mobile web. I want to share some data from our shopper sessions as well. We see the average number of uses for a dealership download to be almost 8. That means from the initial time that they install that app, the average customer comes back almost 8 times. And the reason for that, the takeaway is, apps are the stickier mobile medium. They're top of mind, they're easy to access, and if we can get them to install them early in the sales process, we have a chance of locking out the competition. Okay, next let's talk about location targeting. We know from the data that we covered earlier that mobile shoppers are much more likely to cross-shop your dealership with competition. They're buried in their smartphone on the lot, looking for better deals, looking for pricing info. And location targeting is an app-exclusive technology that allows us to communicate with that customer in a more relevant and intelligent way. What location targeting does is it uses technology such as Wi-Fi triangulation, geofencing, Bluetooth low energy, or beacons, if you will, to help us better pinpoint where the customer is from a physical perspective, and then more intelligently market to them, giving them communication, messages, offers, specials that are relevant to them from a timing perspective. For example, location-based delivery is a key component of location targeting. We can target that customer when they're on the lot, either after hours or during business hours. We can target that customer through beacons in the showroom. We can target that customer in the service center, and then we can also target that customer when they cross-shop us and they go visit a competitor. So with location targeting, the AutoMotion platform delivers messaging and content based upon that user's physical location. It uses macro and micro location technology to deliver relevant, highly targeted content. And then the relevant and targeted messaging results in higher user engagement, action-driven next steps, so that for the first time we can incentivize that customer at the moment of decision. The difference between this and mass text messages or mass email messages is we're providing intelligent communication to the customer when the timing's right. Here's a showroom example. This is a showroom example using beacon technology. Beacons are placed in the vehicles that are on the showroom, relevant to that particular make and model. We can see the first step is micro proximity detection. Now the great thing here is the customer's phone doesn't need to be on, doesn't need to have the app launched or anything related to that. But when that customer is engaged with that particular vehicle on the showroom floor within a certain proximity, the app sends an alert. And in many cases, it can be everything from viewing available inventory, or it could be incentives on that particular make and model. And the customer, when they receive that message, the timing's right, they're interested in a vehicle, and they can engage with that message. And the third step is it directs the customer to a special offer related to what they're looking for in that shopping process. So to sum it up, with location targeting, it's the ability to incentivize the customer at the moment of decision. Now, location targeting can be used in the showroom. It can be used, like I said before, in competitive situations. It can be used also in the service side. So finally, the takeaway is apps can help close competitive deals. With that, Eliana, hopefully with the mic turned on, let's take a look at our second poll question.
Ah, you're so funny, Ben. All right, here we go, audience. Your second poll question is on the screen now. I'm going to read it to you because you didn't get to hear my dulcet tones at the last poll question. So here we go. How valuable would it be to send a coupon or an incentive to your customer's phone when they shop, service, or visit a competing dealer or dealership? Please select one of the following options. Do you see high value in touching buyers when the timing is just right? Do you see some value in this proposition, or you don't see value in this at all? So we want to know, how valuable would it be to you if you could send a coupon or incentive to your customer's phone when they shop, service, or visit a competing dealer? You see high value, you see some value, or you don't see any value in this. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. Thank you so much, audience. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the solidarity. All right, let's close this poll and share the results. Are you ready for this, Ben?
I'm ready.
Here we go. All right, 74% of today's audience said they agree. They see high value in touching buyers when the timing is right. 26% of today's audience says that they can see some value in it, and no one in the audience said that they didn't see any value in it. So you got 3/4 said high value. Ben, does that help you out?
Yeah, fantastic. Appreciate that. And as I promised, we are getting through the content really quickly. So let me sum it up here around the risk for dealers without an app presence, and then finish up with one final poll before we get to our question and answer section. So dealers without an app presence risk a lower SEO ranking via Google's new modified mobile search parameters, can miss up to 25% of low funnel mobile leads, risk higher attrition among mobile shoppers, and that's related to mobile apps and their higher retention rates, and then finally risk losing competitive deals without utilizing location-based services to help attract those customers from competing dealerships. So with that, Eliana, with the mic turned on, can we give us our last final poll?
I'm just double checking. Can you hear me now? Okay, here we go. Audience, your last poll question is on the screen now, and would love to know what you think about this. We want to know, what are your thoughts on mobile apps for dealerships? What do you think? Please select one of the following answers. I don't understand them or how they can help me. I have looked into them, but I don't see the full ROI. They look like an awesome tool, and you know what? I think I do want to learn more. Or, our dealership has a customer-facing mobile app already. Wow, I would love to know how many of you have that. All right, so the question on the screen is, what are your thoughts on mobile apps for the dealership? Select one. You don't understand them or how they can help you. You've looked into them, but still don't really fully understand the ROI. They look like an awesome tool, and you know what? You want to do some more research on that. Or your dealership already has a customer-facing mobile app. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. And this is quite interesting. I love that these the votes that are coming in. Not what I was expecting. Audience, you constantly surprise me. Always, always. So thank you so much for keeping me on my toes. And Ben, when you're ready, oh, we still have some votes in. I'll give audience a few more seconds to get your votes in, and then we're going to close this poll.
Contemplating.
I know, right? We're going to close this poll and share the results. It's so funny because, I mean, this isn't the first time you've come onto the show and talked to us about apps and how dealerships can really utilize those to sell more cars. But this is the first time, I think, where I, personally, I have questions about mobile apps now. So I think I'm going to ask you some questions. All right, audience, you guys are great. Thank you so much. We're going to close this poll and share the results right now. All right, 3% of today's audience said they still don't understand mobile apps or how they can really truly help them and their dealership. So that's only 3%. But 32%, so almost a third of today's audience, said they have looked into them, but they also don't truly realize the full ROI of a mobile app. 37% of today's audience, that would be the majority, said they look like an awesome tool and they do want to learn more. And 29% of today's audience said that their dealership already has a customer-facing mobile app. Dude, 29%! That's a lot! I did not expect that number to be that high. Did you?
It has. This last year, mobile apps have blown up for dealerships. So it is a little surprising, but not all that surprising. And that's
I mean, the national average, nationally, I mean, do you have that information nationally, how many dealerships actually have a mobile app?
I have a data set, and this is one of them, Eliana. So I really appreciate the audience's feedback on that. But I think you also have a savvy audience as well.
Yes,
and I think for those that have a mobile app, the questions might be, how do we get the most out of it, right? How do we optimize and see true ROI?
But do you, I mean, because if I were to guess how many dealerships already had a customer-facing mobile app in the United States, I would never guess 29%.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Wouldn't
I thought
it
it'd be more like 15%.
We've just seen a huge uptick in dealers that are putting a huge emphasis on their mobile app presence. So I absolutely would totally buy into that. And we hope it's 50% and then, 75% by next year.
Well, I mean, I love apps, so I think they're an easier way for the customer to get involved and find out information and enjoy the art of shopping, let's say. If you can enhance the shopper experience through an app, why not do it?
Well, and that's what it is. Really, a mobile app is a trusted communication platform, especially for the upcoming millennial generation who is wary about giving out their email address, who's wary about giving out their phone number. But they will install an app because they know they have the control to opt out if and when they choose.
Okay.
So with that, through the content, we're to the end, which is the Q&A section. So
yes.
I just wanted to add this as well, Eliana. Really appreciate folks who have taken time out of their schedules to come in and join and listen. And Eliana, thanks again for the invite back. I really do appreciate it. Would love to start a dialogue now for anybody who has experience with it or questions or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, actually, we do have a number of questions that have come in, so I'm pretty excited to get to those. And audience, if you haven't gotten your question in yet for Ben Anderson, he's the CEO and President of AutoMotion, now's a great time to send those in. We're going to fly through these wonderful questions that you have, but before we get to those, guess what? Oh, it's my favorite time of the day. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at AutoMotion, yeah, they're giving away a great prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a new Apple TV with 1080p HD. So this device is going to give you access to all the best content, blockbuster movies, TV shows, sports, your music, and your photos, and more. You can put it right on your widescreen TV. You can even play content from your mobile device on the TV using AirPlay. Only one of you is going to win this very cool prize. Who couldn't use this prize? I love this prize. All you have to do is answer a simple question about the presentation. So get ready and get to your keyboards, everyone. As you know, the first one to write in the correct response will be walking away with this totally cool prize today, so good luck, everyone. And vendors, if you're on the show, you know we love you. The love is coming from us, but we're going to ask you to please sit this one out. This prize is intended for dealership personnel only. All right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. The question is, what technology allows you to target shoppers in the showroom? Okay, just so you know, the answer is a 3-word answer. So if you haven't written down 3 words, then you didn't get it right. Or it would be 1 word. It's either 3 words or 1 word. So all those people who wrote down 2 words, you're wrong. I love how people write the word 3 times in a row.
Eliana, let me help clarify. This
Okay, go ahead. Help clarify.
Usual, right?
We already got a winner, but if you want to clarify, go ahead.
The key is showroom. What technology permits micro-targeting in the showroom?
Well, I'll tell you what. The first person to write in the correct response, which was beacon targeting beacons, was Paul Heinrich. Paul Heinrich. Thank you very much for playing along. I wish I had game show music. I don't. I'm writing down your name, Paul. You are our winner today. You are walking away with this super cool prize of this Apple TV. Why don't you write on in? Let me know what dealership you're from. And congratulations. Of course, everyone, audience, thank you so much for playing along. We always love having this. And, of course, we give away prizes every week, always a different prize. So tune in next week and see another chance to win another cool prize. Big congratulations again today to Paul Heinrich. Let's see if he wrote in where he's from. Oh, yes, he's from Wilsonville Toyota Scion in Wilsonville, Oregon. Thank you so much for checking in with us today, Paul. And, of course, we want to also thank our good friends at AutoMotion for their awesome generosity. So thank you for that. All right, audience, we're going to get to your questions right now. All right, Ben, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, your first question came in pretty early. I believe you were talking about, you were talking about how many shoppers shop on mobile devices, and then out of those shoppers who do the research, how many of them are only on mobile devices before they actually go into a dealership. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay, so this question came in from Bruce, and Bruce says, what about hybrid mobile devices like the Surface? Is that considered a mobile device? Is that in that 25%?
Bruce, that's a great question. And to honestly answer that, I would have to dive into the study specifics. I don't know off the top of my head whether that includes tablets or that's just smartphones, because that study had to do with research before visiting a dealership. So typically when it's research before visiting a dealership, tablets are included because you're on your couch or wherever you might be. Now, when we're talking about customers in the showroom or on the lot, typically they're not lugging around a tablet device. Sometimes they are, but typically it's going to be your smartphone.
Okay, thank you very much. And Bruce actually had a follow-up question. He says, the overview link in the mobile section in Google Analytics, doesn't that figure vary by location and by time of visitation? My analytics have desktops at 63%.
Read that for me one more time, Eliana.
Okay. The overview link in the mobile section in Google Analytics, doesn't that figure vary? I think he was commenting on a one of your stats that you showed, and I think he was wondering if that figure varied by location and by time of visitation. My analytics have desktops at 63%. So I think what he's talking about is how many mobile devices are used to do research on websites as opposed to desktop devices. And I think he's saying, Bruce is saying, that his analytics are showing him that 63% of the people who come and visit his website are desktop and not mobile.
And that's, so if we simply reverse that, we're at, what, 37% as mobile, which I think is pretty close on trend, Bruce. And again, we see a variance of numbers there, you know, some over 50%. But if that's what you're asking about, percentage of mobile devices versus desktops. And remember, when we're talking mobile devices, and I believe I'm correct on this with Google Analytics, I believe they include tablets in there as well.
Oh, okay, great. Bruce, thank you so much for the great questions. Follow-up questions, you know we welcome them. All right, next question comes to you from Kyle. He says, what about mobile shopping sites like Cars or AutoTrader and their mobile apps versus having one for the dealership?
Great question, Kyle. And from the consumer's perspective, I think those are great tools. The AutoTrader app, the Cars.com app, they aggregate all of the dealer inventory, right? So they can look for a specific make and model and then shop multiple dealers in one spot. The problem is, as dealers, we know how AutoTrader controls that channel and what they charge for it. And it is not cheap. And so as dealerships, we see those that are progressive are kind of fighting back in a way, developing their own mobile apps to lock that customer sort of into their inventory, right? Rather than competing against and paying for leads and paying AutoTrader and Cars.com of the world for every source of traffic. And that can get really, really expensive very, very quickly.
Okay, thank you so much. Kyle, great question. I really appreciate it. All right. Joe, you're so sweet. He says, thanks to Dealer on managing our websites. We rock with mobile. So thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate the shout out. Okay. Bruce wrote back in. He says, what I can see happening is the customer using the Instacentive or Insta coupon is that they will show the dealer the coupon and force them to match the deal, therefore driving down gross profits. I hate that happening to me in my store. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point, and that's especially true when we're blasting out offers to everybody and anybody without any real intelligence. And so when we talked about location targeting before, what's great is we can tailor that message specific to that shopper and where they are in the process. For example, if that shopper's on our lot, the coupon or the incentive we're going to give them is going to be very, very different, or should be very, very different than the one that we're going to provide the customer when they step on a competitor lot, right? Just makes natural sense. And because through location targeting we have the ability to know where that customer's at and the threat of defection, we then can adjust the offer on that basis.
Okay, wonderful. That question came from Bruce, so thank you so much. Joe wrote in, how to optimize is the challenge. So how do you, let's say you have a great app. You still have to maintain it much like a website, correct?
Yeah, and I think the question is how to optimize. It could be twofold. It could be one for how to optimize from a SEO ranking perspective, discovery of the app. One of the things at AutoMotion that we preach is you can't just have a mobile app. If you just throw it out there, the chances of that customer utilizing it and you actually getting ROI from it are quite small. And this is what we saw early on. A couple of years ago, dealerships experimented with mobile apps. They simply had one created and did nothing with it around promotion. And so we really say we do two things. Yes, we create mobile apps, but secondly, we know how to promote, launch, and target those apps towards your customers. And so there's a variety of best practices available on our website as well. Don't have to be a customer of ours to go ahead and access those and see all the different ways you can do as a dealer really to drive downloads and drive installs.
Thank you. Okay, I got a twofer question for you from Michael. Michael says, how do the mobile apps provide me a prospect's geolocation, and what do I capture from a geolocation? I mean, is that what the app does? The app tells you where the customers are?
That's exactly. So it's a mobile app combined with location targeting technology. And to recap, that location targeting technology uses Wi-Fi triangulation. It uses GPS data or geofences, meaning we're able to identify actual physical locations that we want to target, i.e. a customer's lot, a customer's showroom, for example. And then thirdly is the beacon technology, the micro, to know exactly where that customer is when they're in the showroom, for example. Which vehicle are they nearby, or which vehicle are they researching? And so then based upon that information, knowing where that customer is at a specific time, we then can tailor messaging that's appropriate for that consumer. And because it's relevant and the timing's right, the engagement rates that we see versus the traditional media are off the charts.
Okay, you got more follow-up questions from Michael again.
Right.
Okay, so Michael's continuing. He says, what is the peripheral radius that geolocation from the dealership is most common, and what if your dealership is like right next to a freeway? So can you do it, do you do it just, like, would you do it for a mile? The mile's too big, right? So you would do it just for like, what, 500 yards?
Yeah. What we ask right away is to say, hey, who are the top 5 competitors in your market right now? And for some, that's very nearby from a geographic location. For others, depending on the market, it could be farther away. But the question then is, well, what happens if that dealership that we know is a competitor, but they're next to a freeway, right? When that customer is going on their morning commute, we don't want them getting an offer on their phone every single time they drive by that competing dealership. If they get spammed, quote unquote, in that way, we know that they're going to get frustrated and uninstall the app. So within location targeting technology, there is different factors that play into that. So there are different accuracy checks to make sure that you're not just driving by, that that person is actually at that dealership and engaged with that dealership. And offline, I'd be happy to share a little more detail on specifically what those are. But that really is necessary and crucial because if we send multiple messages that look like spam, we're not going to gain that customer's trust.
Right. Another follow-up, great follow-up question from Michael. Does a prospect, when solicited for the application download, can they opt out? And does the technology show me the number of prospects that have opted out? Obviously, it shows you how many have opted in, correct?
Great question. So the answer is the prospects always have the opportunity to opt out. That's part of the reason why customers trust apps. They trust Google, they trust Apple, and they know that they can opt out at any time or opt in. So when you download an app, if it's created correctly, then it's going to ask that customer if they'd like to receive messaging or not. Now, as far as opt-in rates and opt-out rates, curiously enough, that is data that Apple and Google hold proprietary, and they do not share that with app developers. So
Really?
the answer is we cannot get that information regarding app opt-in and opt-outs from a location services and messaging perspective.
Okay, opt-in and opt-out. That's not the same as uninstall, though, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Uninstall means the app has completely gone off the device.
Right.
But as far as opt-in, opt-out, this has to do with, hey, am I going to allow my location to be shared with specific applications?
Because David wrote in, and I have to agree with David. He said, well, what amount of people uninstall the app after they purchase a vehicle? So if we don't know the opt-out rate, I mean, if it were me, I probably would get rid of the app, you know, taking up my virtual space on my phone, you know, after I purchase a vehicle.
There's a couple of things at play here. Number one, we really have to compare that retention perspective with the mobile website, right? And for a customer who's in the sales process, the question is how many times are they accessing the mobile website versus how many times are they coming back to the mobile app? Now, are apps uninstalled after the car is purchased? Yep, absolutely. But one of the things that's great about apps, especially those that are small in size, and an example is we make sure our apps are under a megabyte in size, so it's not taking up any room on that customer's phone. If that customer files that app away in a folder or leaves it on the phone, the great thing is that customer then can use that when they're ready or when we notify them via location services about scheduling service for their vehicle. So roadside assistance, right? There are aspects to the app in car ownership that become relevant and valuable. And one of the top features used in our data from a mobile app perspective actually is those dealers who have a real-time service scheduler, and that's plugged in within the app.
I was going to say, because if I purchase the car, the last thing I want to know is that you have 0% lease financing, blah, 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 on a new 2016 yada, yada, yada. Because I just bought a car. But if you're telling me I can make a service appointment, I could get, you know,
$9.99 oil change, exactly.
Yeah,
so the marketing
you should
changes.
be hitting your 3,000 mile mark, come in for an oil change, here's a $10 coupon. Oh, yeah, now you're talking.
And the amount, from a conversion perspective, from a service scheduling standpoint, we're able to achieve versus the traditional have to call the dealership is really, really intriguing. And I'm certainly happy to chat with anybody else who's curious about service retention and service loyalty and how an app can improve that.
Got it. All right, that was a very, very cool question. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get to this. Okay, let's get to this question from Michael. He says, does a high percentage of consumers usually have their geolocation ID turned on or off? Michael, thank you for that, because I actually have my location turned off most of the time, me personally.
Yep, and that's a great question, and that has to do with what I talked about before about Google and Apple keeping close to the vest about those opt-in, opt-out rates as far as location services are concerned. They keep that close to the vest, and they also make sure that app developers can't personally identify a customer who has an app. So those are privacy walls that they keep definitely out of reach from an app developer's perspective. Now, from a location services perspective, one of the things that we do in convincing that customer that they should turn it on is we say, Mr. Customer, as far as scheduling service and delivering notifications to you, location services need to be on. And so in that case, a lot of customers who choose to engage with the app in that way choose to go that direction. And remember, think about an app with location targeting being a whole different delivery platform than your standard, more spammy mass text or mass message perspective, right? Because we're delivering messages that are actually useful to the consumer when the timing's right, and it changes that communication or conversation channel.
Got you, got you. Very, very cool. Tyler and Michael both have really cool questions about the functionality of an app. So, for instance, Michael says, does the app have a click-to-call integrated function? And Tyler, he just flat out wants to know, what are the top 3 most used functions for an app for a dealership?
First one, absolutely. Click-to-call is a highly utilized feature within an app, and that you can differentiate between sales and service. And a lot of our clients even use unique numbers to help with attribution related to that. And then as far as top actions within apps, and I did have the slide in here, Eliana, and I removed it last minute.
Why would you do that?
Well, it's interesting data to me, at least, and that is the #1 feature within a mobile app, again, from our 4 million shopper sessions, is vehicle research. Number 2 is inventory. The 3rd is calling the dealer. And the 4th is scheduling a service through an online service scheduling.
I love it. I love it. All right, Tyler, thank you so much. Oh, Tyler has a follow-up question. He says, does the app tie in through API to the service side of the DMS so that when they book an appointment, it goes right into the system, or does it just come through via email to the dealer?
The way in which we do it is we are able to utilize the dealership's real-time service scheduler from a partnership or a vendor perspective. For example, Xtime fully integrates within the app. And so therefore, once the customer submits all their information through the app, it goes through Xtime channels or time highway channels, for example.
Oh, that's wonderful. Tyler, thank you so much for the great question. Okay, let's see. Oh, Tyler wrote in thanks too. All right, let me get rid of this one. Okay, Russ. Hey, Russ. Russ writes in, can your app include our rewards program, current points, service history, etc., if the data was sent to you? So if that data is available, how far can an app take it to personalize?
Russ, great question. One of the things that we really thought was important in developing the AutoMotion platform is tremendous flexibility. And so that allows our clients, our dealers, to really integrate just about any component they want into the mobile app that they see as valuable. And we certainly have quite a few clients that do it on the loyalty side. So we'd love to get in touch with you and analyze what you have currently and make sure that it can fit and plug in, but there's a good chance that it can.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, Russ, thank you so much for the great question. Martin wrote in, can you please repeat those top 4 things again that people do on an app? And Ben, if you could you put them in order for us?
Absolutely. And this, again, is specific to our data of 4 million shopper sessions, so customer-facing dealer apps. So not the top 4 things people do with an AutoTrader app or a Cars.com app. This is related to customer-facing dealer-specific apps. Number 1 is vehicle research. Number 2 is inventory. Number 3 is calling the dealer. And then number 4 is service scheduling through an online service scheduler within the app.
Wow, okay, great. And follow-up question from Michael. He says, okay, so yes to the click-to-call feature. Do you also have a click-to-chat function?
Absolutely. We
Really?
integrate and can integrate with all the top live chat providers. So it's a simple integration, and what's great is then that customer on the lot who doesn't want to interface with a salesperson, let's say, has the ability to do live chat. Or if they're remote, they have the ability to do live chat right there on the device.
Wow, all right, very cool. Michael says, when someone purchases, I guess, decides they want an app, does your company, he specifically says, does AutoMotion provide assistance to help them capture service business?
We analyze what you're doing currently today on the service side, again, related to are you using an X-time type provider, a time hire, or something similar, and then give you some examples of current clients that are using similar systems. Some dealers are just have a lead capture form, for example, for service, which is possible, or simply a phone call, a click-to-call action within the app. But we'd love to chat with you and just share. I mean, this is, again, mobile apps are new, but they are becoming absolutely a majority within the space. And so we'd like to share and showcase what other dealers are doing and what success they've had with stuff.
Wonderful. Okay, Michael wrote back in. He says, this application sounds to be a commonly demanded application, and all dealers should probably have it in the near future. So thank you so much for that, Michael. I appreciate it. Okay, Russ says, any quick info on the new Google dealership listing ads, DLA, for mobile? Can only vendors set these up?
Russ, I'm pretty sure the answer is no. You could independently do it as well. I think the question, and I'm not an expert on that realm, I would refer to somebody who's more knowledgeable than I am on that side. But I think the question you want to ask is, are you an expert in it as far as getting maximum value from your dollars, or is there some type of expert or vendor that can help you out with that?
Great question. Thank you, Russ. And he wrote in, thanks. All right, Russ. Tyler wrote back in, can you explain what users are doing that vehicle info/details gets more actions than inventory views? I would think you'd have to view inventory to see vehicle details in most cases. That comes from Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler, great question, and they're actually very close as far as competing for that #1 spot. Vehicle research within our application within AutoMotion is, think of it as a beautiful digital brochure. So customers can view the entire model lineup for their particular manufacturer through photos, swiping left and right, full video with voiceover, digital brochures, etc. So it's really a place for that customer when they open the app. A lot of them tend to start there and get more familiar or more energized or learn more information on the specific car that they're interested in. And then the next step, usually the next action following that, of course, is going to be that inventory search, drilling down to a VDP.
Great. Okay, last question for you comes in from Kyle again. He says, how do you convince a customer to download your app versus, let's say, Cars.com or Autotrader.com, or even just how do you convince the customer to download your app? Any advice on that?
Yeah, think of it, Kyle. Why do we, as dealers, have our own website? Kind of a great question. Why not just rely on Autotrader or Cars.com to provide that traffic flow? Well, the answer is that's silly because the amount of money, the amount of cost to do it that way just doesn't make sense. And putting a lot of time, energy, and resources into building our own brand through our web presence, through SEO, etc., is the more efficient way for us to develop new leads and sales with those customers. That's the same in the mobile app world, is we certainly could rely on Autotrader or Cars.com to provide that assistance. Now, when it comes to getting apps downloaded and installed, we really, I think, I've got stats to back this up as well, is we're really one of the most proficient at doing it in the industry. And like I said, we have a full best practices kit on how exactly we drive installs from those particular customers. And a big way happens to be on the web, both through SEO as well as utilizing that dealership's existing website. We have something called app option code, which auto-detects that customer is doing a search on an iPhone or an Android device And after it detects that specific device, it then is able to offer up the correct app for that customer in case the customer wants to shop using a mobile app. And some choose to go the mobile website route, and others choose to go the mobile app route.
Well, Ben, this was so cool. I'm like so excited about getting an app now. That was an awesome webinar. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Audience, thank you so much for being here too. Fantastic presentation. Of course, I want to remind you that a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you in a few hours later today. For your reference, please share this one with your friends and colleagues. And today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. Just go to dealeron.com/webinars to view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars too. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, in just another moment, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out. We want to know what you thought of today's presentation. We're always looking for your feedback. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all of the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next Dealer On webinar. Unleash the power of texting in your sales process with none other than Elise Kephart. So if you attended Dealer On's record-breaking webinar last November 6th, then you witnessed an epic presentation as Elise Kephart finally divulged her entire ultimate internet ninja sales process. Well, Elise is going to continue her streak of dazzling us with her cutting-edge sales techniques and use of modern technologies to sell more cars. In this must-see one-hour webinar, Elise is going to expand on step number 3 of her comprehensive sales process, text messaging. You don't want to miss this event, as Elise will dive into a segment of 15 different video mobile pages that you can easily drop and send via text, whether you're in internet sales, floor sales, management, or even service. Attendees will also learn the difference of texting versus email and the customer's perspective on both, regulations and texting laws in 2015, management reviews of text conversations within a dealership, time efficiency with texting, and custom personal branding mobile pages via text. This is your chance to hear from one of our industry's best and brightest. If you're ready to learn the wow factor that will impress your clients and finally unleash the power of texting in your sales process, then you don't dare miss this webinar. Register today. Don't forget, Dealer On's weekly webinars are held Thursdays, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. You know it. I love hearing from you, so track me down online. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, anywhere. And I'm on all the automotive social networks as well. You can also email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in Dealer On's continuing education series. Take care.